Brian, just to give a broad palette of Westport United, 666 members, but how does that break down into teams?
I'd say we'd have over 40 teams between boys, girls underage. We'd have an academy, we'd have the usual under 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s. I suppose we'd have 6 under 12 boys teams. I suppose under 12 seems to be the biggest range, as it would be most clubs. We'd have 2 senior teams then, an A and a B team, one playing the Super League and one playing the league below it. But now the Mayo League is starting up down the 21s, or they started last year. We're putting there's 2 teams in it this year as well, so there'll be an overlap with some of them teams because we have a lot of younger players on our senior team.
Yeah, so look, social media plays a huge role in most clubs these days. Just to explain, with a club with those type of numbers, what social media platforms, how do you communicate with your members?
Well, I think, and as regards expertise in social media, I wouldn't be a man, but what I know of it, like it's all clubs apps, they're all on the clubs app, there are different groups and the managers groups and team groups and everything. That's mostly how they talk to each other.
And in terms of your sponsors are communicating with people who are making a contribution, financially. What platforms would you be availing of there?
Well, we're very, I suppose, as most clubs are, we're of the old style with the names and the jerseys. The only thing we do now is we stream all our first team games, maybe some of the second team games, and we've got 1 or 2 of the businesses in town to come on board for that. So we would rub ads and we would talk about theirs. It's courtesy of this A, B or C.
And sponsors would recognise that they're given profile, there seems to be benefit from the community, but there is a return for them in the exposure that Westport United can give to them as well.
That's I suppose that's the newer way to go. And because we did the streaming, that's went on that material. But there's more potential in that.
And I know you have a very active PRO. He's very much hands-on, does the commentary and stuff like that. But it's important that clubs recognise the benefit of having somebody to look after their social media that is in the background, sort of pushing out the information and communicating, and let people know of upcoming events or match reports and interviews like that is through a social media individual or indeed a committee.
It's more important than ever, and especially if you have, most people set up the social media, they set up the Facebook pages, or they set up whatever they're doing with websites or whatever they're doing. But the worst thing you could ever do is go into somebody, if you're checking some place, the first thing you do when you get a junior cup throws, you check on the opposition if you don't know them that well. But the worst thing you can ever do is go into a page or go into something and see something up there from 3 weeks ago. So that's worse. You're as well to have nothing as have something stale. As you say, you need to be putting something new up on it all the time.
Needs to be current. But Brian, with a club of the numbers that you're talking about, managing finances and sort of individual subscriptions, how does the club structure that?
I suppose it's been a learning curve down through the years. I was more involved in the club a few years ago on the day-to-day running before the development came into place, before I then kind of branched off of that. But I know our secretaries used to have a hard job to get them. Once registration time came around, beginning of the year, it just was a nightmare for them.
And does the club look for a payment up front, or can it be broken up over a couple of payments throughout the year?
I'd say we've improved a lot in the last few years, and there is a facility there that they can pay 3 or 4 times a year. I think it's much more streamlined than it was. The common system that FAI have seems to be a help and taking a lot of the repetitive stuff off it every year that was just soul destroying, time consuming.
And there are other players in the market who offer very good services in terms of managing your finances and being able to control sort of payments in, payments out, fines or whatever. And the world that we live in these days, they are huge assists and aids to helping to streamline the workings of clubs.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably the way forward, as you say, right? Because it's harder and harder to get volunteers. But if you go into an AGM and you see the officers gone, the chairman, the treasurer and secretary, People have said, I'll do that, I'll do that. There's a big relief in the whole room, so thanks for God. I'm going to take caught for that, especially the secretaries, as I said, like. They were so you need to make their packages or their workload as small as you can, because they're all volunteers. You can't be sitting up at night for 5 or 6 hours every night, and at a certain time of the year time for registrations through and getting back to parents, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. And anything that makes life easier, it makes it easier to get officers in to help, and makes it easier to run the club.
Of course. Recently the FAI have rolled out a programme where they're looking for government investment. I think it's up over nearly 650 million, but the way the pyramid is structured, that it's International League of Ireland and grassroots, but the bulk of the money is down into the grassroots area of the game, and this is hugely important. This is, it's a really good news story if they can get across the line. That funding can go out to clubs like Westport United to improve the facilities, and again, it's investment in youth to the country, hugely important.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good, and I would love to see it actually headlines in the paper and headlines in social media of what they're doing, like. But we all knew, anybody knew what was needed, like. But at least somebody's trying to push it now, or trying to open doors with the government together, as you say, because the soccer family in the country represents a huge percentage of the population. Like. So the bigger numbers you have, the more power you have to influence things, and we all know what it's about when it comes election time and everything. So I mean, we should be using that, because I mean, clubs need to do what we're doing at the moment and to improve it.
And TDs and councillors throughout the land need to recognise the value of that investment programme and the need for it to be channelled into areas where they're helping local communities, that they're diving right down into the very fabric of local communities.
Yeah. I mean, like we're out here in Spain, like you see the facilities that they have, the facilities that the lads are playing in. And I mean, it's small villages, smaller than Westport, and have a huge pitch there, the stand with the floodlights. They've everything there, like. And when you ask the locals about it, like, you ask them, well, how do you fundraise? How do you do it? They say, well, they never heard of fundraising. It's the government provided, like. I mean, you take the volunteers out of Ireland and you don't see it anywhere else. You go to Germany, you don't see anyone doing a flag there out to the supermarket. If you take the volunteers out of Ireland, the country will fall down there. So there should be assisting the volunteers. And
like, obviously volunteers do it because of the love of the game, but from another point of view, it's like volunteers are nearly taken for granted. And as you say, if the volunteers withdraw their services, the sport collapses.
Every sport collapses. I mean, it's in every sport. The whole lot's it's gone. Like, you take the volunteers, look in your own town, you take the people that do work for nothing, like, and do the thing they used to because of passion, like. But I mean, you need some assistance, like. What we're doing in Westport United now, we can see the benefits of there every day. We're down. I go down looking at the machine. He's down there every day. I go down for 2 or 3 days, see what progress has been made since I went down last. Like, there's something to see, like.
But a source of real pride for you, who are so invested in the club. But for anybody in Westport going down and seeing the facilities that Westport have and are continuing to develop, it's a real badge of honour to be a resident in Westport in County Mayo.
Well, when you're out here at the Regent's Cup and you talk to someone and you say, who are you with? I'm with Gary from Westport United. Oh yeah, but down there you've got good facilities down there. Like. It's good to hear. Like. When you see somebody like, I mean, I don't know, from the cities coming down, say, to a local area, look at the facilities you have here.
Well, brilliant, like. There's only one Westport United, but we need more clubs like Westport United.
And that's why I say to you as well, like, I mean, anybody club that's listening to this that's saying, we are where you were in 2005, but what do we do next? Like, I mean, give us a call. Give us a ring, contact the club. I'd be only too helpful, too delighted to talk to someone and say, this is what we've done. They mightn't do exactly what we've done. They say, I don't agree with doing that way, but I do it this way. At least you're picking your brain for someone who's done it.
Exactly. Sometimes you need to go down cul-de-sacs to find it's not the right way, and you can help people and steer them on the path. One of the teams